You know, then you can put that on YouTube, and I'm not in the proper attire to be.
Oh, I know.
To bring a dissertation.
It's funny because MP3 doesn't transfer immediately to YouTube. You have to do something to it.
It doesn't?
No, you have to have a YouTube. You have to have a movie to go up to YouTube.
Oh, that's true.
No.
You gotta put it in
and
a
I'm
movie
sure there's a way
sequence.
to. But what's nice is that you can add commentary.
But I know you're videotaping.
How do you know? It could be.
Because you wouldn't
it could
follow.
be MP3.
You wouldn't follow all the instructions. You would do what you want to do.
Oh, okay.
No. It's good.
We
It's
can
all
do
right.
that too.
No. We do what you want.
Right. So, what I'm wanting to know is, we're trying to do commentary on Clark, commentary on Rosenshine, and what we're going to summarize here is what's the value of prior knowledge. You gave an example of how do you really read a book. Don't read a book by
starting
at the first page.
Starting at the first page and finishing at the end, you know.
No.
These might not be a good advice for our students who, on a certain level of knowledge and understanding.
I mean, maybe this is where learning style or comfort. I won't say learning style, I'll just say where are they comfortable? Some people are. They like to start a day and they go right to bed. I want to be surprised.
I've had teachers tell me this. No, don't do that. Intelligent readers go inside the book, find a page that you like, plunge into it.
Look for the
and
pictures.
if something in there tells you must read every word of that book, you will. But if it doesn't, you won't. And there's no time to waste here.
Right, because there are other good books.
You know, then I was saying, as a strategy, because I know it's so difficult to read, it takes so much time, and there are so many distractions in today's world, you know. There's the world of iPods and videos and stuff, and YouTube. And, well, what I would do with my students is, like I said, we're going to read Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, but we're not going to start them into that first page, you know. Okay, we're going to go around who Shakespeare was and a little bit of the history of England, so that they can understand the big picture, understand the context, the social political context in which it happened, and we're going to go straight into Hamlet's soliloquy. We're going to go into the to be or not to be speech, and when we do that, most students in any culture in the world will say, I've heard that. What is the meaning of to be or not to be? Why did someone say that? Because I've heard my daddy uses it.
Right.
I've heard my daddy use it.
Is that to be happy or not to be happy?
Is that to make a decision? Okay, who has an interpretation of that? Someone is going to stand up and say. I think
eventually they're saying he's talking about suicide.
Exactly, or
he's going to kill himself.
Exactly, or someone is going to say, oh, maybe it's to make a decision or not to make a decision.
Right.
Okay, they're going to go their own interpretations, but you have a class happening already. Now there's something happening here because you got your students debating on an idea. I say, okay, well, why don't we read past the beginning of the excerpt and see
to
if
die, to sleep no more, but in that sleep of death, what dreams may come.
Exactly.
Let's give us pause.
And as you start to move into it, you may also do references to the ideological, religious, social context of when this was happening. We're talking about the 1500s England. So they start to get into it. They still don't know, they may not, that this is an excerpt from a book.
Right.
One of the greatest books ever written. But now they are so much into it. And this thing is relating to their real life so much. Because have you been on a to be or not to be? Can you mention an example where you have to, and then you're connecting this lesson with their everyday life, and they may start to see a reflection from their everyday life in literature, or vice versa. Now, what happens here, it's this prior knowledge that we're talking about is there are, as we know, three types of knowledge. There's a scientific knowledge, there is the school knowledge, and there is what we may call the street knowledge. It's the everyday knowledge. Since science came to be these, well, scientists got to be this elite in thoughts and thinking, and what school tries to do is to have an interpretation, a mild interpretation of these scientific knowledge, to redirect or reorient the knowledge from the street, the everyday knowledge that children have. It's basically saying, here is the theory for what you do or what you will have to do in your life. Since school is well, this is the epistemology of learning it, and if a school tries to create a substitute base for what's has already being learned by the individual, there is a conflict.
And you're saying start here.
You have to start here, and you have to validate what's in here, because this is practice. This is theory.
So start with the street knowledge. Is that it?
Yes.
Starting with street, and then you go to school.
If a person has to substitute what he has done here and what has worked here practically for this becomes boring, becomes difficult to deal with. Becomes indoctrination.
Right. I will memorize.
Yeah,
but
come on.
It's not
I
part
don't need
of
this thing. I already operate in the real world.
Right.
So, as a teacher, you have to understand these 3 stages of learning to be able to use more what's the prior knowledge of the individual you're dealing with, and how can you not substitute but transform the perspective of what is here to turn the school into a very productive and beneficial process for the student. When that is not there, you might get students telling you, I don't need this. Oh yeah, you need this because you got to go to the university to go and become this man to get the new car and have the big house. I don't need that. I can do that selling drugs out there. And then what are you going to say? He's giving you the practical answer.
But if you've already given him the fire, now, if you show the fire first, and then you say, how did this fire happen? Well, let's go look. And what happens after the fire? So you can eventually enter the book in that way. But you're showing the fire first.
You have to find a way to connect. To connect to their reality, but also to connect to their spiritual reality. It's...
No, sorry. No. Más agua? Yeah. Gracias.
So it's